All right, here we go. This one's going to be called Mary Brandt sentencing here, 12 years. It looks like here there's a lot of supporters in here. Yeah. Looks like Good Citizen was in here. Jason Goddard. I don't know who that Pikes made here, but yeah, I think there was Silver Diamond here. But yeah, let's get to it.
Mr. Brandt, you have a right to speak to me before I sentence you. Is there anything you'd like to say, sir?
Yes, Your Honor.
You can do it from there, but it might be more comfortable at the podium.
I think the person above Goddard said that's
good afternoon, Your Honor.
Maybe later.
Good afternoon.
First, I will apologize for disruptions of the WebEx, and I will ask the court to be patient with that because not necessarily all those people are on my side. They may be deliberately trying to disrupt.
I'm not holding you responsible for anything they do.
Okay, I will tell you that I have asked if I have followers, which I think is a little lofty, that if I have followers, then I would expect that they're behaving, and I appreciate that as well. And I thank you for opening the WebEx for this hearing. I think it's obviously an important
comments here says you put that word. First Amendment, if you don't like it, rewind it.
First of all, I drove this plea agreement. I want the court to know that. I think that my attorneys did a great job. I think that they mounted great defenses. I think there are perhaps legally defensible questions associated with these cases. And I think that my need to accept accountability for the fact that words do have meaning was outweighing any of those potential legal remedies that I might be able to enjoy. And
some say it was funny here.
I would argue that,
the victim
that I have shown in the last year and a half that I'm capable of towing the court's line.
You two taxes, and
job. I don't know how many days you say we had credit.
And this is a judge that's going to retire in 3 days. Ladies, keep in mind.
That reflects the fact that it took some time.
I would tell this piece of shit. I would tell Hoffman more and say, does it feel good? He sent it to Eric Brandt 12 years. Bet you're going to sleep real good in your pillow tonight, huh? In the next couple nights.
While I was in custody in Jefferson County, I took advantage of their behavioral health unit services, and I did that as a voluntary thing. I was completely compliant with that. We were driving towards a Veterans Court solution.
I've never threatened anyone. I'm offended by this judge's statement under oath.
I'm not sure why we did, but that's fine.
Starring that I did such anything.
But in fact, I was in fact accepted in Jefferson County for their Veterans Court program. They have resources available for me. They have educational resources available for me. Some of those resources could include
others. I'm sure he
law
never
school, which I realize is a large hurdle for somebody with a felony conviction, but it's not an impossible hurdle.
As he's alive, he has the right to do so. He should be found not guilty.
I took advantage of those programs. I was 100% compliant. I never even had so much as a verbal write-up the whole time that I was there. When I got out of custody a year ago, I sought the treatment. I sought Mr. Mears. Mr. Mears is in my area. I have moved out of the Denver metro area. In the time that I've been out of custody, I have achieved stable housing. I have achieved a property that I'm trying to build. It's 35 acres. I have achieved a much higher degree of mental health. At the time that these incidents occurred a year and a half ago, both of my parents were in dire medical condition. As Mr. Rudolph indicated, that I went to Montana because my mother was on a ventilator. I do think that the moral condition of my parents was a major factor. And I will also say that I've not discounted a substance abuse question. That's not a question. The question was not, did I have a substance abuse past? The question was, has it been addressed? And that question has been addressed. I've been sober for nearly 2 years now. So would I be objected to the substance abuse treatment? I'm not sure. The reason why I asked to be taken off of the screenings was that they just, for 2.5 years, there was nothing there. I've worked to address that. I think that Mr. Mears indicated that that's a major hurdle. If you can't overcome that hurdle, then you can't move on to the next step. And I worked very hard to come over that hurdle. I'm proud that I overcame that hurdle. And in
There's
addition
one
to
right
my
here.
parents'
Our courts have lost
condition,
their way.
2 years
This
ago,
court does not allow the
when these
poor
occurred,
to receive appointed
that was an
attorneys,
issue. That was,
which
I was
started as bullshit.
finally
Our
achieving
system
some
is
level
based
of
on a taxation of money creation.
sobriety and some restoring a sense of self-worth. I drove this plea agreement. I drove it pretty hard. I did drive it pretty hard, and I appreciate that you worked an agreement out with that. I drove this plea agreement because I'm at a stage in my mind where I need to apologize to my victims. I learned things today that I didn't know about the impact on my victims, and I'm sorry for that. And I was going to ask the court as part of my sentencing, if it were appropriate, I wanted to apologize to those victims in writing, should the court find it appropriate for me to guide that through the court for their approval. And now I have more information to do that with. I couldn't apologize to my victims. I couldn't show remorse when I still had a pending criminal prosecution. So we're not here today because I made case law ensuring that people can distribute literature in front of courthouses. We're not here because I made case law about what fighting words are as it relates to disorderly conduct. I'm not here because I've prevailed on 82% of my arrests, which are certainly indicative of misconduct at the police level. We're not here for that. We're not here because of my successes. We're here today because I crossed the line. I don't know if I crossed the line legally. My attorneys think that we have good defenses, but I think that I crossed the line morally. So if there are any followers, first of all, I'll tell you that they don't follow blindly. You heard from Ms. Springsteen. She doesn't agree with everything I say. If anything, I wish I had followed my followers' guidance earlier on. I wish I had listened to them earlier on. Followers aren't following blindly, but in the event that they are following blindly, I would hope that they take a look at my successes. I think I have made progress in a lot of realms. I hope that they model that. More importantly, I wanted to stand here and tell the court and tell the public who's clearly listening, there are lines in the sand. Those lines may not be legal lines. They might be ethical and moral lines that might pass as legal things, but they might not be right. And that's what I'm here to do today. I want to apologize to you, Judge Rudolph. I've not been allowed to do that until now.
And still, don't address your comments to him. Address your comments to me. It's one of the rules.
Yes, sir. I would like to do that. I've wanted to do that. My lawyers would tell you that I've wanted to do that, but they've not allowed me to do that. I want to do that. I want the court to sentence me to write apology letters to my victims today, because I do have something to say to them that I think is appropriate. I do, and it's not about them. It's about me. I crossed a line. There are lines. I really hope that people take from this that you can negate 8 years of good activism with a single stroke. So if I had any followers, then I would assume that as of today, I probably do not really have that many. And that's probably appropriate because I'm not your champion. I'm not the guy. I didn't make it. I couldn't take the pressure. I didn't make it. So what I'm asking the court to do today, I have no objection to a lengthy probation period. I think that I can prove to the court that I'll comply. I've been complying for the last year and a half. I do acknowledge and recognize the severity of my words. Words really do hurt. They really do have a meaning. Even if it may be legal, it may not be right, and that's what I want people to take away from this today. I am standing here before you today asking you to allow me to continue my treatment with Mr. Mears. I think the fact that I'm almost completed with a Denver probation in one case is indicative that I can complete probation. I think that my compliance with pretrial services is indicative that I will comply with the court. I think that my compliance with the Adams County probation, where they've taken me from maximum supervision to minimum supervision, and even because of my UA history, they've removed me from drug screening. I would have no objection to drug screening, except that it is expensive. It's about 3 hours drive for me to do a test. And I would ask if the court is able to put me on probation, that at some point, once the Denver probation thinks it's appropriate, that it might be transferred down to where I'm living. I'd like to move forward with building my ranch. I can't make commitments to those things. I don't know if I'll be able to pay for it if I'm in custody. I can't commit to contracts. I'm now in a stuck state, and and I'm ready to move forward. I'm asking the courts to impose a suspended sentence and probation, and I'm willing to accept my bitter pill.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Let me start out with a couple general comments. First of all, I've never heard of Eric Brandt. If he didn't make the sports pages of our local paper or the Wall Street Journal or the New York Times, I've not heard of him. It's been 2 decades probably since I've watched or listened to any local media. I don't know if that's good news for him or bad news for him, but that's the fact. The other general thing I wanted to say is I am, as I think all judges would be, a little bit uncomfortable being in this position where the victims in this case are judges. We are all trained to be hypersensitive about conflicts, and this makes me uncomfortable. But when judges are victims, only judges can impose sentences because only judges have the power to impose sentences. Could we bring a senior judge in here to have done this case? Sure, but it's the same problem. The senior judge is still a senior judge with judicial powers. The good news, I guess, is that I'm retiring in 4 days. And so unlike senior judges who will continue to be senior judges, I will not be a judge after April 30th. I'm not doing the senior judge program. I'm not doing any judging. So maybe this is sort of the best accidental solution to this intractable problem of judges imposing sentences when victims are judges. The third thing I want to talk about is these questions that have been raised by various people about different theories of criminal punishment. And our statutes, of course, require us to consider all the justifications for punishment, retribution, deterrence, incapacitation, rehabilitation. But I've said this for 30 years from this bench. Of all of those theories, retribution speaks to me more than any of the others. The criminal law is about this social contract that we've all entered into, and I want to talk a little bit about that. I don't want to go on forever, but as I've said before, punishment is really about the social contract.
It's going to be a 2-part video
People
for this.
who have violated the social contract have to pay to come back into the fold. And although we do have to pay attention to deterrence and incapacitation and rehabilitation, all of these theories have profound limits for me. In incapacitation, murderers have the lowest recidivism rate of anybody, and forgers have the highest. Well, then why don't we send forgers to the penitentiary for life? Incapacitation is not a sensible, at least not a complete theory. Deterrence, I have no idea what deters and what doesn't. And there's something unjust to me about punishing Mr. Brandt because we're worried that somebody who likes him is going to do something. That doesn't seem fair to me. Rehabilitation, I have no idea about that. I'm not wise enough to know whether the sentence that I impose...
Of course, you wouldn't know about it. You're a fucking judge, you sack shit. You never had to be behind bars, You're all about the law. You're one of those fucking type of judge. You walk the fucking beat with the cops to back to blue. So how the fuck would you know? You wouldn't know. So don't even go there.
Today is going to change Mr. Brandt's behavior or not. I've been doing this long enough to be surprised. People that I thought were going to change haven't. People who I thought were hopeless have changed. All I know is that the free will all of us has makes these predictions about dangerousness and about rehabilitation, about reoffending,